What's up today, guys? Today we're going to do some prep work for the Kawasaki KD175 before I race it. So a couple things I'm going to do in this video is I need to run it. I want to get an oil change done. After I get it hot, I want to kind of check out what's going on with my compression, since I did put standard rings on it and it was right at service limit. We're talking right at. I've been trying to. I've sourced 20 over rings. The piston, I need to source that yet. It's going to be about $200 for a piston, which is kind of crazy. I do have 60 over kit that is a reproduction kit. Bought that out of Australia. I need to take a look at getting my cable shorter, my throttle cable later this week. I'm going to have to run into the big town, see if they can do that. The other thing I need to do is flip the front tire around because the rotation is backwards. If you watch any of my other videos, you'll see why that is. For some reason, my front wheel was on backwards, so when I mounted the tire, I mounted it the way I thought it was. Then when I replaced the forks after I rebuilt them, I realized the tire was on backwards. So I had to do a bit of flip-flopping there. It ran the race fine, but it's not going to work too well. I mean, it works, but I just want to make it correct. The other thing I need to do is take a look at the brakes. I know mine aren't great. The cable kind of hangs up on the rear. It's rideable. And then second to that, at some point I think I'm going to have to put new liners in there, or I'm going to have to just get different hubs. As a machinist, I think I can put new brake linings in there. I bought new brake pads for it. I'm waiting on the front still. I have the rear. And I bought new springs for the rear, and I'm hoping that maybe I could just put new springs in, and we'll check that. We may even dive into timing and ignition to make sure I'm on point. I rode it last weekend. It worked. It ran pretty good. Ran about as good as it normally does. So I'll probably take it out, ride it a little bit, and then drain the oil. And we'll take a look at maybe doing a compression test today. All right, I got some gas. We'll pull up the choke this time. Flip it on. I should have reserve still. Hopefully. How many kicks? 3, not bad. Not low on gas. Oh, let's be up. Washout. did an oil draining last week of the other KD right here, so it's always fun. Let's see if we can thread this out. I don't like that. It got a little tight, but that F7 did just the same. So make sure I don't get any dirt. Could probably run a thread, something to clean up the threads on it. Ooh, that does not look pretty. It's a little worn. This could just be, it's aerated. That's all it is. It's just aerated oil. We aren't going to worry too much. At least that's what we're going to tell ourselves. Right? Yeah. Perfect. Put a new plug on it. Clean this one. Take some time. Drain out that oil. We'll get some fresh oil. I may even show you how to check these bikes. Something I just noticed is I'm a little loose here. That ain't good for racing. So I probably ought to snug that up a little bit. And I'll double check the other side. It's a good thing to do. I guess. Good thing I kind of was messing with the bike today. Figure out what size it is. 19. Snug that up. I was gonna say, it kind of felt like it was riding funny. Where in my situation, it felt like I was kind of bow-legged on everything, but that ought to do us a little better. I might machine something a little different to give me a different angle. Debate if I replace these, get more grip on my boot. This all is kind of worn down. This actually hits the case. Maybe I need to check that, make sure it's snugged up too. Feels like it is. Might have to put a bushing in there or make something to kind of keep that in line down here. Adjust my brakes. I do need to adjust the brakes, so well, before I forget, I better put some oil in it. I need to go look and see how much I actually need. How much oil does the bike take? Well, it tells you right here, 0.7. I looked it up in the manual. That's 0.7 liters. Fancy elf. And I don't know why this oil thing is oil quart. So I got some 10W40 motorcycle oil. I probably ought to run some Rotella because it does have lead in it. I don't know if it actually needs the lead. We're not, I mean, my Honda probably does because that's what it was, you know, 1974. That's what it kind of was living with at the time. So this is also two-stroke, and this is only for the clutch and the gears and all the other fun stuff in the back half back here. I'm gonna guesstimate how many milliliters there. 946 or 950. So I reckon I should be about 250 milliliters left in this jug. If I overfill it a little, it'll be 8 ounces. Oop, maybe I already did it too much. Let me set it somewhere somewhat flat. Look. Yeah, we're still about 300. I need a little more. You know, I have a measuring cup that I could do this with. That would be a one-shot kind of deal, but that's about 250. We're not going to concern ourselves with that today. All right. Make sure the bike's cool before you use a funnel like that, because you might end up with some issues. All right, so Kawasaki says you're supposed to set this. I'll wipe this lip off. It doesn't really matter. It's just O-ring and dirt. All right, you're supposed to just set it in here and go half a turn. And that is your oil level. The cat's fighting. And looks like we're a little over full. Great. But it's leaning, so I'm not going to get too crazy. We'll ride it and then check it. We can always pump some out if we have to. But we got the oil change done, so now we got to go on to other stuff. But I got an appointment to sell some MG wheels. So pulled the plug out to do a compression test. It doesn't look bad. This looks used. It's not wet. It doesn't smell bad. A little bit of carbon buildup, but we are two-stroke, so we got that going. Let's see what else. I got oil all over my camera now, so let's put a compression test in. Now, a caveat to that, I have this cover on, and without this cover, it runs great. This thing will rip. Spins the back tires. Tire. It only has one, Cole. it just goes. However, you put this cover on, it starts to run a little worse. You put the air filter in, it starts to run a little worse. You put the top cover on the air filter, the factory air box, it just runs like a doll. So it has an air collection issue. It doesn't get as much air as it should. I've been tempted to build a bigger air box, but I haven't got to it this year, and I probably won't. This may be a next year or the year after problem. So we're gonna see what the compression is, just to see what it is, and just kind of go from there. I'm curious, because I knew where it was with the last set of rings in the other jug, but I'm curious where we're at now. Alright, let me see if I can hold the throttle open all the way and kick it. It's kind of a trick. Well, what is that? About 130, 135. That's not bad. It's better than what it was. It was 90 on the original cylinder. So it may just be kind of down to timing. Could be just the gearing in this bike too. I'm pretty happy about that. That's livable. It's about what my Chevy 2 is, so I'll run it. The bike runs. I'm going to keep racing it till I can't. So we'll go from there. So I put a shorter handlebar on last year or the year before, these Renthals, and it's quite a bit shorter. So the problem I ran into was then now my throttle cable is too long. They don't make aftermarket cables that are shorter, so I have to shorten it. To get through the race, I made an extension, basically of the original style. Just bought some hex stock, turned it down, threaded it, and made it super long. I think I need to take about an inch and a half off. Inch and a half, inch and 3/4. So that's what we're going to start on. Alright, as you can see, the adjusters are quite different there. Now, I'm going to put this other adjuster, the original, this brass adjuster, I believe, is the one that came with the bike that my grandpa used. So I'll put that on. It's pretty rusty and crusty. So, I'll put this on, kind of give us an estimate here about where we sit. An inch and a half probably wouldn't be too bad. Kind of going to put a tight twist in this though, but I can manipulate it out like that. That looks a little worse. I can raise this up. We can figure out how to get that out of there. Just a little too long. Maybe inch and a half isn't what I want. Looks worse the farther out we get. I don't want to be soldering several ends onto this, so I might just chance it and go inch and a half. We'll see what happens. You know, my other cables kind of look tight. So one thing I'm going to have to do, this is my first time doing it, so this is gonna, but I've seen it done. Let's see if we can get this straightened up here. I might actually end up trying to get a new throttle tube for this because that plastic piece wants to roll backwards. I don't particularly like that. It's not good. Not good at all. Okay. Try to get that kink out of there. Okay. Then I'm to measure this. 2 inches to the tip. So that makes it easy. Okay. So I'm going to nibble this end off just so we can slide that tooth off. Pull this all forward. Try to, ouch, that poked right through. Try to cut that end off, and then we'll see where we're at. I may have to take the gas tank off because I don't know if I can get that sheathing to do as I want. Okay, so I bought these Park tool cutters. Alright, I thought someone showed up. I heard a car door. Alright, so we're going to nibble this end off. We know we need 2 inches. Alright, pulled the end off. I'm going to pop this cable out. Maybe I should have taped that so it would slide back in. Hopefully this works the way I hope it does. Okay, I'm going to pull that through up to here. You guys can see it. I'll transition here. I'll go ahead and cut this here. Nibbled it. And we will open it back up. That obviously was not the way to cut it. Nope, there's just an inner sheathing in there. So now I'm going to try to push this back through. Okay, there it is. Grab this cable, give it a tug, get that through, get our cables lined up down here, plug back into the splitter. All right, cable is cut. Next, I got a whole bunch of, I guess you guys can't see this now. So I got the cable in pulled through, I got it trimmed. Kind of spooked me a bit because that inner sheathing kind of, it crimped in, and I thought I was dealing with something that was going to be a heck of a mess. So let's figure out what size end this uses. Is it 6mm or is it? No, it's probably 6. What other option did I buy? Because I bought 3 different sizes. Barrels. All right. Get the old trusty knife out. Okay, again, I got these from Motion Pro. End. Let's see if we can get it on that through here. Maybe not. I'm going to go ahead and cut this end as close as I can. Since it's all frayed, we're going to slip this on to the cable. There we go. I'm going to make sure this is on. Looks like it's pushed down all the way. Then I'm going to grab it with this. I'm going to give it a couple twists here and make sure it's down. I'm just going to give it a couple bites. I haven't done this with this style of crimper. Boop. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Looks like it's actually crimped. Kinda. There we go. That ain't going anywhere. It's kind of stuck on there, which is what we want. Now we need to clean all this so we can solder. Alright, so we got this pulled out. I went ahead and wiped it all off with brake clean. Then I heated it with the torch a little bit just to kind of cook anything else in there. Didn't get red hot, just kind of started smoking. Just wanted to kind of clear off anything. So now we need to cut it down to 2 inches. I might just mark it. That's going to be the easiest way to do this. I gotta get a Sharpie. I don't want to use a Sharpie, because that may contaminate the solder. Will it? I don't know. This would be a lot easier. Got caught on the shirt. There we go. There we go. Should be about where we need it. Yeah, roughly. That's what the is for. Alright, so I don't need that. I don't need this. Okay, now comes the fun as I bang the camera around. So, after doing research on Google, which everybody else could probably do, I bought this Superior number 71, which is for stainless steel soldering flux, and these are supposed to be stainless steel cables. I believe they said just use a Q-tip. Kind of get some flux in there. All right. I'd not be surprised if this is a 2 or 3 person job, because I don't have a table. Okay, I got the torch, so I may have to get something set up here so I can hold everything and do it. Maybe I can do it. Let's see if I can slip this thing on here. There we go. Maybe we can do this. About ready to see. That's still recording. It is. Lucky me. Alright, so I got solder from them as well. It's just some 60-40. Let's see if we can get this wicked up here. Hopefully I didn't get it too hot. Maybe I did. Probably ought to let that cool for a bit. But now we know the solder's definitely on the inside. Alright, so I let it cool for a little bit. And here's the test. Seems to function the cable. We know we got solder on the inside and the outside. I might clean this end up so it sits in there nice. And alright, so the last thing I got to do here is kind of clean up this end. Get this end kind of cleaned down. Got some baby kittens in here this year. Probably I could have buffed this with a angle grinder, but my poor angle grinder gave up the ghost. Which is annoying because it wasn't a cheapo. I had a cheapo knockoff eBay Kawasaki. It was Kawasaki branded. And I thought, that's what I need for 20 bucks. That thing lasted me years. I abused the heck out of it. The darn Ingersoll ran. It only lasted me 4 years, and I didn't even use it a whole lot. I used it mostly on the Nova. We're getting closer. I think a lot of it's that stainless steel wire. And definitely an angle grinder would have cleaned this up really fast. Okay, we got a nice flat bunt end there. So let's put it, actually we probably ought to lube it before we get too far, but I kind of want to test it and see how everything rides here. So, slip this on. Got a little worried that it was too wrong size. Put this end on. Bought some more of these barrels as well. Don't look bad. Slip it into here. Make sure we get it the right way. Ooh, buddy. Come on now. You guys probably can't see what I'm doing, but I'm fighting. Let's do this. Pull the cable out. I was trying to keep my hands somewhat clean today. There we go. Just because that's no good. That is no good. There we go. I got somewhat okay pants on for once. If you know me, you know that I don't keep pants for very long. They don't stay nice, I should say. Working on stuff, getting all greasy. Hopefully move you guys in closer so you guys can see. You don't just hear me yapping. Got the grease stuck to my hand, caused the screw to stick. You ever operated a screwdriver before? I haven't. This is my first, and I felt like it was going to cross-threaded. Right-handed, and this darn thing is not as fun to the left. There we go. Okay, and we'll just use the adjuster to keep it. It will bump it out. So I think I'm going to go ahead and get a new throttle tube in here because I don't like that. I'll have to go in and see if we're actually adjusting it out. If I remember right, this is 10 millimeter, 10 millimeter. Maybe we'll get lucky it's 10 and 11. But we need to check and see how our... No, it's 12. I grab a 13. I need to double check and make sure our slide's opening. But make sure we're getting full throttle. But cable shortened. Cable's not loose. I think we did a good job. While we got the seat off, I'm going to take my my custom-made air filter holder off, and we're going to take that air filter out, and we're going to clean it, just like movie magic. It's clean. So I have the back end disassembled here, mostly because I wanted to look over these brakes I have 2 rear brake cables, but I have no front brake cables or spare clutches, so I'm going to look into getting that. Now my brakes, I've had issues with it. Basically, it wants to get stuck. It's not going to do it now, but when you press the brake, it would just kind of hang up and not return the pedal. It's doing it now. I was going to put new springs in it, but they seem to be working okay. I bought new springs, some new old stock ones, of course. But I think what I'm going to do is put a little grease in here on this guy, make it a little easier for these brakes to twist and turn, and we'll consult the manual on adjusting this so that way it works the way it should. Man, it's just a pin. Yeah, I'll probably put a little grease on these tops too if I can pull it apart, just to kind of keep everything flowing good, because it's pretty dry. It is probably dry right now. That might be why we're hanging up. But I'll re-grease the rear axle here. That looks like it's twisted pretty good. So maybe that's part of my problems here. This rear is twisted a bit, but it's probably not the biggest of my issues in the world, so we're not going to worry too much about it. I am rubbing the frame clean here. It's pretty nice and shiny right here, but that's not a big deal. We're not going to worry about that. So let's go ahead and rub that bolt too. My inner fender just kind of floats. Huh. Alright, cool. Anyways, it'll wear in. I forgot to get the grease and the axle grease. So the reason I wanted to take apart this Kawasaki, the KD175 front and rear, is because I know my linings are pretty rough. I brought new pads, but these are already bedded in, and it would take me longer to bed in the new ones, and then I would be in the same situation as I am now, as opposed to just leaving the ones I have in there. There's not much meat left, so my other option is to buy a new hub. But I think what I can do is I can buy a steel pipe, and I can machine it down. We'll machine this one out, press a new one in, and then be good to go. I still may buy some new wheels for it as backups, but this one will do. Kind of a awkward angle, but last time I took the bike apart, I didn't take the time to make sure the front axle was cleaned up, so I'm taking the time to do that now. Boy, the front end is a heck of a lot lighter without this huge tire on the front, I'll tell you that. But nonetheless, kind of got it situated. So I'm going to work on cleaning this up. We're going to do the same thing as I did on the rear with the brakes. I'll clean them, put a little grease on them. These seem to work pretty good. They have more meat up front than they do in the rear. These do return pretty easily, but I just want to make sure they're greased up. The inside of the front, they actually look really good. They look really good compared to the rear. But I'll get that dimensioned, that way I don't have to worry about it later on. And then we'll kind of just flip that front tire around, that way I don't have issues going forward. And I will put it on, and that pretty much gets me ready for the race. Just more or less practice, getting a little bit of riding in, a little bit of practice, and have a little fun before the race. Hopefully I don't break it. That's always the big worry that one has. We got a tight spot. I knew one of these was tight. Surely it's a 14. Yes, got lucky on that one. So run this in, get it cleaned up after I smack the camera once. There. Get this thread chaser. Oh, it's not a tap, it's just a thread chaser. Problem always was it would suck the axle to one side. So I figured it was just kind of bunged up or something. Much better. Much better. Still a little snug right there. I'll clean these up and we'll put them back in, and hopefully we'll be down the road pretty easy. A lot better than what we were. I mean, it didn't really affect anything. It was just kind of, it looked kind of funny when you'd look at it. I don't know what grease I used previously, but I know on these I did use that Lucas, but the grease I used before that, boy, it's some stinky grease. Anyways, so as I was doing that, I realized that my axle is actually bent on this side, and that's why it gets tight then stops, leaving the axle nut in there, the threads. This one threads in all the way. That's how it should be. It's just this side's bent. And so I can always get a new one. Maybe not. Maybe it's just this one end. Yep, it's just this one end. It does better on one side than the other. Guess the axle isn't bent, it's just something to do with this. Anyways, I will go and flip the tire around and then hopefully be able to put it all back on. Alright, so to round this out, what I've managed to do is I got the back wheel back on. I adjusted the brake down one peg, one knurling on that stud. Everything got greased up. Readjusted the brakes so it feels like it's going to hold. And I went ahead on the rear shocks. I rotated them one stiffer because as when I was riding, it would bottom out, and I've probably gained a little bit more weight. Now I got a month to lose it, but well, you know how that goes in life. So I'm going to try my best to lose some weight, and we'll see how it goes. Now I got two things left. I want to go test the front brake, make sure that feels good. I need to make sure I readjusted the clutch cable because I did oil it. And the last thing, I kind of want to see what kind of speeds I get, what kind of mile per hour I'm running. I can't do that today because it's really wet, and poor bike will just slide in the mud. So we'll have to wait till it's a little dry. The video here. The bike did great. Took it out, rode it a little bit today. Kind of see I got some rode in the ditches. Had some fun. I think I'm ready for this year's race. Hope to see you guys there. Sunday of Memorial Day weekend 2025. Thanks for watching as always. Stay tuned for more.